Before dawn on June 6, 1944, Adolf Hitler is asleep. Across Europe, the greatest invasion force in human history is preparing to storm the beaches of France. But inside Hitler's headquarters, an astonishing message has just arrived from his most trusted informant, a spy whose reports he considered so reliable that German generals joked he had a private telephone to the truth. His codename Garbo. His true identity, Juan Pujol García, and the report he sends tonight will help decide the fate of Europe. In the early hours of June the 6th, while Allied paratroopers drop into Normandy and the first landing craft grind toward Omaha Beach, Garbo's encrypted transmission reaches the Abwehr station in Madrid, the office of Karl Erich Kuhlenthal, the German intelligence officer who has championed Garbo for more than 2 years. Kuhlenthal had personally vouched for him in Berlin, arguing that Garbo's network of 27 sub-agents across Britain was one of the most valuable assets the Reich possessed. Abwehr chief Wilhelm Canaris had approved his continued funding despite internal doubts about other foreign agents. Tonight, Garbo reports an urgent discovery. Allied forces are indeed preparing an operation. But he insists this is not the main invasion. According to him, the real strike will come later at Pas-de-Calais, where Germany's 15th Army is already positioned. The message aligns perfectly with Hitler's own expectations. For months, German intelligence summaries, heavily influenced by Garbo's fabricated reports, have warned of an Allied plan to strike Calais. The Germans even assigned the codename Operation Wacht am Rhein to their defensive preparations, convinced that Calais was the logical target for an invasion across the shortest route from Dover. And so Hitler does what he has done again and again. He believes Garbo. He goes back to sleep. What he doesn't know, and what no one in Berlin suspects, is that Garbo's entire spy network is fictional. Not a single one of his supposed 27 agents exists. Every report about troop movements, fuel shortages, or morale issues has been crafted inside a rented room in London, approved by MI5’s 20 committee, a real British intelligence body chaired by John Masterman, responsible for turning German spies into double agents. And Garbo is the crown jewel of the entire system. If you're drawn to true, forgotten stories like this one, hit subscribe so you won't miss the next video. 2 years earlier, Juan Pujol García was not a spy at all. He was a frustrated hotel manager from Barcelona, shaped by the chaos of the Spanish Civil War. He despised both the far-left militias and Franco's authoritarian regime. When World War II erupted, Pujol made a personal vow. He would help defeat Hitler, even if no one asked him to. He walked into the British embassy in Madrid and offered his services. They rejected him. He tried again, rejected. A third time, rejected again. So Pujol created his own path. With forged papers and an imagination that would soon become legendary, he approached the Abwehr pretending to be a loyal fascist. The Germans, desperate for sources inside Britain after suffering intelligence failures in 1939-1940, accepted him immediately. They gave him money, codes, and instructions to build a spy network in London. Instead of traveling to Britain, Pujol went to Lisbon. And from a hotel room, he began manufacturing reports using nothing but British newspapers, shipping schedules, tourist guides, and pure invention. He created agents with names, families, backstories, illnesses, jealousies. He filed detailed reports on the Royal Navy's home fleet. He described imaginary conversations with soldiers stationed in Glasgow. He even filed a complaint about one of his agents being late with a report because his wife argued with him. The Abwehr loved it. Kuhlenthal sent compliments. Berlin approved larger payments. Garbo's fictional network became one of the most accurate German sources on British affairs. By mid-1942, MI5 intercepted his messages and realized something extraordinary. This unknown Spaniard was operating as a German agent with the intention of working for Britain, alone, improvising the most successful disinformation campaign they had ever seen. So they brought him to London, gave him the codename Garbo because he was the greatest actor in the world, and placed him at the center of Operation Fortitude, the the deception plan designed to hide the true landing site of D-Day. And now, on the night of June 6, 1944, the spy Hitler trusts most is about to deliver the final blow to German strategic thinking. All with a message he knows the Führer will believe, because for 2 years, Hitler always has. Juan Pujol García arrives in Lisbon with nothing but forged documents, a typewriter, and a conviction that he can fight Hitler better with lies than with bullets. Yet nothing in his past suggests he is destined to become one of the most consequential double agents in history. He grew up in Barcelona during the final years of Spain's monarchy, lived through the collapse of the Second Republic, and survived the Spanish Civil War by serving under both sides, Republican and nationalist, depending on who controlled his region at the time. He saw men murdered in the name of ideology, watched neighbors turn on each other, and carried out orders that convinced him that political fanaticism, left or right, destroys the human mind. By 1940, as Hitler's armies sweep across Europe, that conviction hardens into a mission. Spain is officially neutral, but Franco's government leans toward Berlin. Pujol, disgusted by dictators of every kind, decides he must help Britain, the last major democracy fighting alone against the Axis. But when he approaches the British embassy in Madrid and offers to spy for them, they turn him away instantly. MI6 officers stationed there consider him unqualified, untested, and overly enthusiastic. They need polished professionals, not a hotel manager with no training. He tries again, another rejection. A third time, rejected once more. Most volunteers would give up. Pujol sees rejection as proof that he has chosen the correct enemy. If the British don't want him, he will make the Germans accept him, and then he will use their trust to destroy them from within. He forges a diplomatic introduction letter using the name of a real official he once overheard in a cafe. With this, he walks into the German embassy in Madrid and introduces himself to the Abwehr as a devoted supporter of the Axis cause. Germany's intelligence network, stretched thin after multiple failures in Britain, sees him as a gift. The Abwehr officer in Madrid, Friedrich Knappe-Rathe, later replaced by the more influential Karl Erich Kuhlenthal, is eager to cultivate new sources. Pujol tells them he has business contacts in Britain. He can travel freely, he can build a network, he can infiltrate. Germany pays his travel expenses, hands him invisible ink, a secret codebook, and detailed instructions for reporting military information from London. But Pujol never goes to London. He goes to Lisbon instead, taking advantage of Portugal's neutrality and easy access to British newspapers. From a small hotel room, using nothing but imagination, he begins sending Berlin the first of hundreds of reports, each one carefully crafted to appear as if he is deep inside Britain. He studies train timetables to estimate troop movements. He reads the Times and Daily Telegraph as if they are intelligence briefings. He invents an entire network of sub-agents, a Welsh nationalist, a Venezuelan shipping clerk, a disillusioned RAF officer, a group of dock workers, even a woman who reports from Glasgow. Every profile is rich with personal details, illnesses, financial troubles, love affairs, petty grievances, details no real spy would dare include. Those details make the fiction feel real. The Germans are stunned. They praise his initiative. They declare his network one of the most promising in British territory. They wire him funds for salaries, dead drops, travel, and operational needs. Berlin begins making strategic decisions based on his reports written in a hotel room by a man who has never been to Britain. But by early 1942, British intelligence begins noticing something unusual. Through ultra-decrypts and routine censorship of mail entering the UK, MI5 intercepts several strange letters written in secret ink. Letters describing troop movements, factory output, and political sentiment within Britain. The intelligence is wrong in subtle, sophisticated ways, not clumsy, not amateur, but carefully realistic and consistently misleading. The The 20 Committee, MI5's double agent authority, studies the pattern and identifies the source, a German agent reporting under the codename Arabelle. They begin checking ports and travel records. There is no Arabelle entering the country, no foreigner matching his claimed movements, no trace of the network he describes.
And then they realize the truth. Arabelle must be fabricating everything.
Instead of dismissing him, MI5 sees something astonishing. This unknown Spaniard working for Germany is actually the greatest anti-German asset they've ever encountered. They reach out quietly. Through intermediaries, messages, and careful negotiation, they finally bring him into Britain. He arrives in the summer of 1942. MI5 offers him a new code name, Garbo, after the actress Greta Garbo, because he is the greatest actor in the world. They relocate him to a house in London and give him direct access to Britain's deception planners. His German handlers think he is sending letters from all over Britain, but every message now passes through MI5's technical unit, then out through radio transmitters disguised as German agent networks. And Pujol, sitting at his desk with stacks of British newspapers and troop notices, begins constructing something unprecedented, a fully functioning, completely imaginary intelligence empire. Berlin believes every bit of it, and now MI5 understands exactly what he can become.
A weapon, a shield.
And soon, the most important liar in the history of warfare. By late 1942, Juan Pujol García sits in a narrow London room above a bakery, surrounded by maps, train schedules, ration leaflets, and stacks of British newspapers. On paper, he is the most productive German spy in Britain. In reality, he is a man writing fiction so convincing it is shaping the Nazi view of the war. MI5 has given him a secure room with blackout curtains and a dedicated radio transmitter operated by trained specialists. His old method, writing letters in invisible ink to German posts in Lisbon, is now replaced by encrypted wireless communication. The Abwehr believes they are speaking to a seasoned spy who has built a nationwide intelligence apparatus. They have no idea that every message is being drafted by a single Spaniard and approved by MI5's 20 Committee, a real organization chaired by John Masterman, responsible for all double-agent operations. To make his lies more believable, Garbo expands his cast. He creates 27 imaginary sub-agents, each with a biography, a profession, and a personal voice. There is the Portuguese businessman who travels between British cities gathering gossip from port workers, the RAF mechanic who drinks too much and complains about superiors, the woman in Glasgow who observes troop convoys heading north, the dock worker who overhears snatches of conversation from Royal Navy sailors. None of them exist, yet each one is described with the specificity of a novelist crafting a character. He gives them marriages, debts, illnesses, and political opinions. He writes their arguments, their frustrations, even their missed reports. He apologizes to Berlin when one agent falls sick or another requires emergency funds due to ration shortages. The Germans send money for all of them. MI5 officers watch in stunned admiration. Pujol is not simply inventing people, he is building an intelligence ecosystem. When one imaginary agent makes a mistake, another imaginary agent corrects it. When one dies, Garbo reports his funeral with emotional detail. Berlin sends a condolence payment to the agent's non-existent widow. Pujol's reports aren't random fiction. They contain fragments of real information deliberately blended with falsehoods so subtle they pass scrutiny. MI5 helps him insert carefully timed truths, information already outdated by the time Germans receive it, to strengthen his credibility. For example, when a convoy leaves Liverpool, Garbo reports its departure only after the ships have reached the Atlantic. The Germans applaud the accuracy, unaware that the timing protects British lives. Karl Erich Kühlenthal, the Abwehr officer overseeing Garbo from Madrid, becomes his greatest advocate. He praises Garbo's unparalleled reliability in messages to Berlin. Canaris's Abwehr, pressured by the failures of other agents and by the Gestapo's suspicion toward foreign sources, clings to Garbo as proof that German intelligence still has one shining success inside Britain. But Garbo is not simply gathering information, he is shaping German perceptions. He begins reporting on troop shortages in Scotland, logistical concerns in Wales, and supply delays near Dover. All of these are fictional, yet they subtly guide German analysis. They make British deployments appear weaker than they are. They reinforce strategic illusions. It is this reliability, this false sense of trust, that transforms Garbo from a nuisance into a strategic weapon. As 1943 unfolds, the Allies prepare for Operation Torch, the invasion of North Africa. Garbo plays a hidden role. He reports irrelevant details and harmless movements from fictitious agents, subtly misdirecting German attention away from the Mediterranean. When the Allies land in Morocco and Algeria on November 8, 1942, Garbo sends an apologetic, furious message to Berlin, claiming his agents warned him, but that the British Admiralty intercepted the communication before it could reach the Germans. The Abwehr concludes that Garbo was right, and that they failed to act. His credibility skyrockets. Now, Berlin depends on him. Senior officers in the Oberkommando der Wehrmacht, OKW, begin quoting Garbo's reports in their summaries. His intelligence influences where defenses are built. German analysts recalculate Allied troop strength based on his messages. He becomes a one-man distortion field warping the Reich's strategic map of Britain. Meanwhile, Pujol's real life becomes a strangely quiet existence. He walks the foggy streets of London unnoticed, a man whose words weigh more than divisions. German bombs fall around the city during the last Luftwaffe raids, but he continues working at his desk, calm, patient, driven by a singular belief that his lies are saving lives. By 1943, British deception planners recognize that Garbo is no longer just a double agent. He is the single most trusted German source inside Britain. His reports are treated in Berlin as gospel. His fictional network is accepted as fact. His information now shapes German expectations of the war itself. And as Allied planners begin preparing for the grand operation to liberate France, a plan so enormous it will require total secrecy, the question emerges. Can Garbo be used not only to lie to Germany, but to control what Hitler believes? Because if one man can steer the Reich's understanding of Britain, then maybe one man can steer it off a cliff. By early 1944, London prepares for an operation so vast that every movement of trucks, every ship loading at every southern port, and every coded order issued by Allied headquarters must be hidden under layers of fiction. The deception plan is called Operation Fortitude. Its purpose? Convince Hitler that when the Allies invade Europe, they will attack not the beaches of Normandy, but the Pas-de-Calais. And at the heart of this deception stands one man, Juan Pujol García. To Germany, he is Agent Garbo. To MI5, he is the most valuable liar in the world. In a small communications room in London, Garbo sits surrounded by files bearing the names of fictional characters he created over 2 years. MI5 officers from the 20 committee stand behind him, watching the steady glow of radio equipment as they prepare to transmit another message to the Abwehr station in Madrid. Each message is carefully crafted, each detail is calibrated, each lie serves a larger illusion. To make their deception appear real, the Allies construct an entire fake army, the 1st US Army Group, or FUSAG, commanded on paper by General George S. Patton, the one American general the Germans most fear. They build dummy tanks from canvas, fake planes from wood, and inflate rubber landing craft along the Kent coastline. The noise of troop movements is produced by sound trucks. Fake radio operators communicate non-stop, creating phantom traffic. But these theatrics only work if Germany believes there is a spy inside Britain confirming everything. That spy is Garbo. He reports that Patton's army is assembling in southeast England. He describes non-existent divisions, imaginary supply shortages, and entirely fake training exercises. He sends complaints from fictional sub-agents in Manchester, Bristol, and Dover about long shifts and inconsistent rations. MI5 feeds him real details. The name of an actual unit here, a real convoy departure there, to blend truth and illusion into something Germany cannot separate. And Berlin does not separate. They embrace the entire picture. By the spring of 1944, German analysts conclude that the Allies will strike the Pas-de-Calais. Garbo reinforces this belief relentlessly. His intelligence summaries, dripping with careful detail, become some of the most heavily circulated reports in the Abwehr's network. Officers at Oberkommando der Wehrmacht quote him in their assessments. Hitler himself reads them. Garbo's web tightens. Then comes June 5, 1944. Hours before the invasion force sails, Garbo sends his most daring message yet. He warns the Germans that Allied troops are beginning to move. He lists unit numbers and transport departures, but delivers the warning late, deliberately late. When the Abwehr decodes it, it is too late for Germany to respond. The first paratroopers from the 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions have already dropped into Normandy. The beaches are minutes away from filling with men. Yet Garbo insists this is merely the preliminary action. He tells Berlin the real blow hasn't come. Hitler believes him. When Field Marshal Erwin Rommel urgently requests reinforcements to repel the Normandy landings, Hitler hesitates, convinced by Garbo and by his own obsession with Calais. He orders the 15th Army, nearly 150,000 men supported by armoured divisions, to stay put and wait for Patton's main invasion. These German units remain frozen for days, then weeks, guarding empty beaches. Not a single Allied soldier ever lands at Calais. As American, British and Canadian forces fight through hedgerows and fortified towns, Garbo continues to report that Patton's army is poised to strike. He writes that intelligence from his sub-agents confirms Calais is still the true objective. He insists the Normandy landings are a trick, a diversion meant to mislead Germany. The Germans believe him for 7 weeks. When Hitler's staff finally realizes the truth, Normandy is lost. The bridgehead is secure. The Allies have broken inland. And then something unprecedented happens. Berlin awards Garbo the Iron Cross, second class, personally authorized by Hitler, for extraordinary service in intelligence reporting. No agent outside Germany's armed forces has ever received this distinction. Garbo accepts the medal through his German handler in Madrid. MI5 watches, stunned by the irony. Hitler has just honored the man who helped deceive him at the most decisive moment of the war. Garbo becomes the only man in history to be decorated by both Britain and Germany for the same conflict, for opposite reasons. Even as German forces crumble in France, Berlin continues trusting him. High-level reports continue citing his fictional network. Decisions continue to be shaped by the words of a man Germany never truly met. This is the climax of his performance. The moment one ordinary Spaniard, armed with nothing but ink, patience and imagination, shapes the fate of millions. The most successful deception operation of the war owes its beating heart to a man Germany believed was their greatest agent, when all along he was the one leading them into the dark. By the spring of 1945, Berlin is collapsing. Hitler is hiding in the Führerbunker. The Abwehr, once the pride of German intelligence, is dismantled under suspicion and paranoia. And the man who shaped their greatest delusion sits quietly in London, watching history close in around him. Juan Pujol García has accomplished something no agent in modern history has matched. He deceived Hitler at the exact moment the war's outcome hinged on what Germany believed. His fictional army group, his imaginary network, his carefully woven lies, all of them helped secure the Allied foothold in Normandy. His messages held German divisions in Calais long after the beaches of Normandy were lost. He has done enough for 10 lifetimes. But the end of the war brings a new danger. If remnants of the Nazi regime survive, they will search for the man who betrayed them. Franco's Spain, where Pujol's extended family still lives, is not a safe harbour for someone who worked with British intelligence, and many of the Germans who once praised him are now trying to save themselves, desperate and unpredictable. MI5 offers a solution, the same solution they have offered to compromised agents before him. He can disappear. In 1949, official documents record the death of Juan Pujol García in Angola from malaria. Messages of condolence circulate quietly. Former intelligence contacts accept the news without question. Even his old German handler, Karl Erich Kuhlenthal, believes the report. The man once known as Garbo is declared dead, but he is not dead. Under a new identity, Pujol slips out of Europe and begins a new life in Venezuela. He opens a small bookstore in Caracas. He lives in modest apartments. He raises a family. He tells no one who he truly is. For decades, he becomes a ghost, a man who once held the fate of nations in his hands, now shelving books and walking to the market unnoticed. History moves on. Books are written about D-Day. Scholars praise the deception plan. Garbo becomes a legend in intelligence circles, an almost mythological figure whose identity is lost to time. But in 1984, on the 40th anniversary of the D-Day landings, a British historian tracks him down. Pujol is alive, older, softer-spoken, still modest. When he is invited to Normandy, he walks the beaches and meets veterans who survived the invasion, men whose lives were protected in part by the lies he told. He listens to their stories, their losses, their gratitude, and for the first time he allows himself to feel the weight of what he accomplished. When asked why he risked everything, he gives no heroic speech. He simply says he wanted to stop extremists from ruling the world, that he wanted to help humanity, even if it meant deceiving the most dangerous regime in history. Juan Pujol García, the failed businessman, the self-taught spy, the master of fictional armies, died for real in 1988. But his legacy endures as a reminder of how a single ordinary man, armed with nothing but conviction and imagination, can outwit an empire. The Nazis believed Garbo because he told them exactly what they wanted to hear. The Allies won because he gave them what they desperately needed, a lie powerful enough to save the world.